Hello, everyone, and welcome, viewers. Good morning to some and good afternoon to others. My name is Jaleesa Dallas, and I am the program manager for our recognized student organizations here at the University of Phoenix. And today we're having an honest conversation about creating career stability. Today, we're answering your questions on this topic and sharing about being in the driver's seat of your career, building contingency plans, and looking inward to take action.
Mm.
Joining us, we have Ms. Carla Hunter, one of our University of Phoenix career advisors, Ms. Alice Rush, also another career advisor, and Greg Lewis, career advisor here at the University of Phoenix.
Hello.
So, first, we are going to have Carla, and she's going to be sharing some details about being in the driver's seat of your career and some other areas as well. Carla?
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Happy Wednesday. The most important, consistent variable in life happens to be change. And the only reality that we need to understand is that we do control our response to change and what life throws our way. We've just been through a pandemic, and I think the whole nation can look back at this very hard time and think about how have we personally and professionally gained a sense of resilience. Career stability, by the way, it isn't the same as job security. Jobs are here one day and they may be gone the next based on an ever changing business model or the number one job killer, automation, and of course, a global marketplace that changes everything. So, what does career stability actually look like? And so, number one, as Jaleesa was pointing to, it's feeling as though you are in the driver's seat of your career, not the passenger sitting on the right while your employer drives you. But what does it look like for you to take your hands and hold the wheel and push power? Actually going forward with momentum because you're the one who is responsible for where your career takes you. And when you're the one responsible, that does provide what we're talking about today, and that is stability. You're resilient because you turn obstacles into triumph, and no one can take away your courage, your confidence, and your unique talent. Stability comes when we understand that there is a place for us in the world of work that encompasses everything important to each one of us, our values, our goals, and does our employer offer that? So I want to ask you some questions. Are you thriving at work? Or are you simply doing a job with no purpose connected to your heart and your head? Stability happens when you're making a difference in your world and people need what you have to give. And so, my final thought, the pandemic has proven what is most important in life, and that is family, friends, community, and our colleagues. Work is where we spend the most time on any given day, right? So it matters that you feel connected to something or someone greater than yourself. So we're wired to connect, and I'm hoping that you have that sense of stability today. And if you don't, and you're a University of Phoenix student or alumni, you can actually make an appointment with one of our team and we'll process and journey with you together. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Carla. Where can I
Mhm.
sign up?
I-
You have really made that aha moment. I'm sure for a lot of our viewers, because change is inevitable. And
Mhm.
the moment we become adaptable to that
Mm.
change, we can really take control and create that stability that we're looking for. Thank you so much for those
Mhm.
nuggets.
You're welcome.
And next we have Miss Alice. She's going to be sharing on also career stability. Stability. She's going to highlight a few things to include building contingency plans.
Exactly. Thank you so much. Well, when we were invited to speak today, I think we all felt it was important to define what that career stability, what it is, really for each of us, and then how to cultivate it. And so I absolutely agree with Carla. Career stability is that feeling of if anything happened to my career, what would I do? I think there are three elements that I'm going to review on career stability, what it is, and then a four-step process on how to cultivate it so we can have a greater sense of career stability in our lives. So the first element is really always knowing, dwelling on thinking what would happen if something went wrong in my career. What would happen if I got that pink slip tomorrow or I had to leave for whatever reason? Thinking about that is a very healthy thing, like Carla said, putting yourself in that driver's seat, but knowing that you always have a backup plan. So, thinking in times of change, do you know what your career options are? What else could you do for your day job? That's the first element of giving yourself that sense of career stability, is exploring that continuously, always thinking about the backup contingency plan. Now, the second element of career stability means knowing that your skills are still current, relevant, and in demand. Ask yourself, when was the last time you actually looked for a job, an open job with your current job title? Are you still relevant and employable? Do you even know? That is a very healthy activity to determine how stable am I if something were to happen in my career. We call that in career counseling performing a skill and experience gap analysis. But that's really what it is looking at what your current job is, and if something were to happen, could I get a job right away? Very, very healthy. And then the third element of career stability means having a solid network. Now, what does that mean? Everyone says you got a network, right? But it's not just having a network of people that know you, it's having a network of people that can vouch for you, that have actually witnessed and observed your work. This means cultivating those relationships, right? With coworkers, vendors, bosses, people that know you, keeping in touch with those people. So, those are the three solid elements of career stability that we want to cultivate. But how do we do that then? How do we make that happen? So here's some activities that you can add to your life to reduce some of that fear that we all live with. What would happen? Most of us have mortgages, families. We live with an element, an undercurrent of fear. What would happen if my job goes away? But these are some very healthy activities that you can do and build into your busy lives. The first thing is think about setting up a meeting with a recruiter and asking them what are their options. So remember, I talked about contingency planning. Ask them, what else do you think I could do given my background? Learn about what other jobs you could do based on your experience. Number two, see a career counselor and take some assessments, as Carla had mentioned. Learn about what other things that you could do. And there is this huge growing gig economy. Even some side hustle businesses are very healthy for that sense of, dare I say, security. But yeah, that's what I mean is counteracting that fear. Um, if something were to happen, what else could I do? Really exploring some of those side activities that you could do. And that oftentimes comes through taking career assessments with a career counselor. And then third, it's very healthy. Some of the most career resilient executives and clients of all levels, but I find most particularly my executive clients, they do this all the time. They look for work, whether they're completely happy in their career or not. They're constantly looking for their next gig, kind of like a show person, right? That's only as good as they were yesterday, always looking for that next job. But they do that to make sure that they know that if something happened, they could easily transition into something else. So looking to make sure that your skills are, remember, relevant, they're current, so they're up to speed, relevant, and in demand. And if employers aren't asking for what you used to do really well, then that might be a time to think about taking a class or a webinar or getting a certificate to upskill. And then fourth, building that strong network of people that can vouch for you in times of change. We all know we've got to have at least 3 professional references, right? That's a requirement in getting a job. Do you have those references ready? Are they cultivated? Meaning, are you keeping in touch with them? I can't tell you how many times I've had clients that do not cultivate references. They go to get a job, they put down people that they used to work with or their old bosses, and they get a call from the recruiter and they said, "Who is this? I don't know who that person is." Wow. You don't want that to happen to you. You've got to cultivate those references, letting them know, this is my current resume, this is what I'm going for, this is how you can speak on my behalf. If you don't have references, think about joining a professional association, volunteering to serve on the board so that people can witness the quality of who you are as a person and how you work and get things done, if you don't have those references cultivated from previous work experiences. So do these things and you'll be amazed at how much lighter you feel in knowing that you have a contingency plan. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Alice. It's just like Carla had mentioned, the pandemic had definitely shifted us to now having those backup plans, and so necessary for those to have them in our back pocket. And to your point on networking, kind of shameless plug to our recognized student organizations. We have those opportunities available for our students and for some of our alumni to get connected and potentially network with other folks within an area of interest as far as their careers are concerned, or just to network, just to learn about different perspectives and build up an inclusive leadership aspect of your resumes or of your work experience. So next we have Greg. He's going to tell us a little bit of how to look inward to take some of those actions built upon by Carla and Alice. Greg?
Yeah, thank you, Jaleesa. And I am a big fan of those RSOs. So I think they're a great opportunity to expand your network and, just get involved. So I hope people will take advantage of that. I really appreciate what Carla and Alice had to say today. I think Alice is always providing great tangible things that we can do. And Carla is so empowering. And I think those are really important things to think about when it comes to career stability. One of the things that I talk about with my clients a lot is priorities. And, we do this on a daily basis. And one of the things that always comes up is people want stability. Well, as Carla talked about, stability is kind of a hard thing to come by. The only constant is change. And so for me, when I start to think about this, we do have to take a little bit of time and think about, in addition to what Alice talked about, what are some things that I can do myself when I go into work? So whether you're looking to start a new job or a new career, or you're looking to maybe improve your situation where you are, there's a few things that I'd like to share to think about that might improve the situation, and provide that stability that you're looking for. As Alice mentioned, I think one of the main things is certainly the relationships, and relationships are very key. And so one example for that would be, for me, if you were starting a new job, for example, or maybe you're just having some challenges at work, is to try as best you can to connect with your supervisor or people in your management group to kind of have a frank discussion about what it is that you would like out of your professional development, what it is that you would like to see change potentially. But please keep in mind that if you go to management and you go to leadership, have solutions, be ready with something that you can provide them, not just a complaining session about how things aren't working. So I think for a lot of folks, if you can go in with a proactive attitude and try to have those conversations and kind of set a groundwork for how you would like things to go for your career. Again, you can't control all things, but I think by communicating effectively with your leadership, that can go a long way. So in addition, there's some things that I think about that might also help you if you're going into a position or already at an employer, that might create some more stability. And there's three things that I think about. One would be to volunteer. And that means a lot of different things. You could volunteer for charity-related things for an organization, but the volunteering that I'm speaking of is more like, what are some other projects that you could do with other people across departments that would gain exposure to a larger network of people, and it would allow you to increase your knowledge base. So, think about opportunities where you might be able to step out of your day-to-day role and increase your visibility across an organization, and be ready to jump in and commit to that. A second thing that many of us, and I even throw myself in there, not always thinking about this, but be a mentor. I think Alice talked about the importance of service to others, and I would say that that's being a mentor or supporting your colleagues or maybe a junior colleague is a great way to create stability, because you're giving, you're providing service to other people, and you're not so absorbed with whatever's going on with your day-to-day, and that will get noticed. So you might consider that. Some organizations have formal mentoring programs, but it could also be very informal, where you just see somebody that maybe you could guide or provide a little bit of support to. So always consider the mentoring option as a way to create stability in the workplace, because people know that you're committed. The third thing that I would say is pretty obvious, but it's worth repeating: do your job well. So I think Alice talked about upskilling, relevant skills, kind of keeping in touch with what your job needs. So not only every day, what I think Carla does a great job of is talking about the mentality and the approach. So that's part of it. What's your positive attitude that you're going to bring to your employer? And the other part is, what do I need to upskill? What do I need to continue to improve upon that would show that I'm committed to improving as a professional? So I think those are three things that you could potentially do that will help you in the workplace, provide some level of stability. And most importantly, you're being proactive. I talk to a lot of clients, as we all do, and there's a lot of like, my boss this, my boss that. And it's like, I get it. We've all got to report to somebody. But the important part is, what can you control and what can you positively impact in your organization? I just wanted to speak slightly to those of you, because this also exists, people that are really frustrated by their current situation. And what I would say, because I am somebody that's very familiar with this, is that if you tried all the things that I just mentioned and it's not getting better with your employer, and you're considering making a move or leaving to go elsewhere, there's a couple things that I think are important. And basically it comes down to a pros versus cons kind of thing. And those of you that are in our business programs or familiar with organizational behavior, like a SWOT analysis. So that's an acronym for strengths, weakness, opportunities, and threats. So when you look at your job, literally, I'm old school, so I would write it on a piece of paper, but if you'd like to keep an Excel spreadsheet or however you want to track these things, make note of, okay, this is my current role. What are the strengths of this role? So it could be you like your job, but you don't like your management. You love your management, you don't like your current job, whatever the case is, but identify the strengths. Then look at the weaknesses. So what is it that's keeping you from being satisfied in your current role? What are the challenges that you're facing? And then from there, so those are the real things, strengths and weaknesses of your current situation. Then the opportunities are for you to consider, okay, if I leave, what are my opportunities? What are the things that are possible for me to do? And then if I look inside, which I will note is always easier to stay within the company you're in, if it's feasible and if you can make it happen, it's always better to stay within. So the opportunities, is it better inside or outside? Be as objective and emotionless as possible, which is hard to do because jobs are an emotional part of who we are. And the final thing is threats. And the way I look at threats as far as the SWOT is concerned is, what are the things that I can do to eliminate the problems? So that's, again, comes back for me is like, what proactively can I do? Again, that might be walking away from something, but it might be trying to regroup and think how you can make your current situation better and to grow professionally. The only thing that I would add on that is that if you decide to leave a position and you're looking for more career stability somewhere else, be sure that you know those priorities that I mentioned before. What are the 2 or 3 main things that are most important for you today? They could be different 5 years from now, but what are the most important things? So that could be like, what work environment do you want to be? Do you want to be remote? Do you want to be on site? Compensation, what's important as far as salary or benefits? And then, I think the final thing would be professional development. Do you see a clear path for your development moving forward? So I think those are just some things that I think are important to reflect inward, think about what you can do positively, and then take action. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Greg. This has been so phenomenal. I'm over here taking notes just for myself. And if you haven't been taking notes, to our viewers, you need to watch the replay or try to get a question in to get some clarity, because this has been a great and phenomenal conversation. Carla talked about being in the driver's seat and that change, and it is inevitable, and that resilience is necessary. Whereas Alice has talked about the contingency plan, having that backup plan, and making sure that you're relevant and in demand with your skills. And then Greg talked about priorities, identifying those necessary steps that you need to take in order to shift if you need to transition out, or how to improve within your workplace, and just being aware, being very self-aware of all the things that you're balancing. So we definitely want to thank our panelists for contributing to our conversation today. And we're going to move on to our questions. So if there's any questions, please do put those in the comments and we'll do our best to address them. So one of the questions that we have is from Tanya. Any advice on baby steps for being in the driver's seat of your career if you're typically been in the passenger seat? And I would say that might be a question for Carla.
Wow, love this question. So sitting in the driver's seat of your career, taking hold of the wheel would mean stepping back and thinking about the most important factors of you. So that would be, where in the world of work is a place for me? And I need to step back and think, what are my values? What are my interest patterns? What are the skills I love to use? And what drives me? And allowing the company that I work for to help me thrive. Help me thrive by attaching myself to your mission. Help me thrive by growing me, developing the skills that I have to offer. Those are baby steps. Self-awareness, then moving into occupational exploration. And finally, I would say, please find a mentor, because when you're taking baby steps and moving to grabbing a hold of the steering wheel, a mentor will help guide you, give you positive feedback, and make that a reality. And then, oh, by the way, go beyond the speed limit. Most
definitely. Oh, that was amazing. Yes, I will I could speak to the value of having mentorship. It's so important because they're able to give you perspective in the places that you haven't been yet. So that way it can guide you along your process to having a little bit more clarity about how to move forward and, again, how to take that steering wheel. Awesome. Thank you for that question, Tanya. Our next question comes from Michael, and it says, if I felt like most of my career is out of my control, how can I take control and make that a habit? Oh, I want to say this is an open question, so feel free to have at it, anyone.
Well, I guess I could jump in. Social science research shows that, okay, we're all super busy, right? And I think it's human nature to procrastinate, but we do have a greater likelihood of actually implementing some of those activities we've discussed today in terms of assessments, making an appointment with a career advisor, and making an appointment with a recruiter or staffing agency, anything that we've talked about today, breaking that into small, what we call chunks, little activities, maybe only take 5 minutes. But if we don't commit to that activity, it tends to not get done. So what I recommend, and this is based on lots of experiments actually in goal achievement and how to break beyond procrastination, because we are so busy and we have so many distractions. Put it on your calendar, put it on your Outlook. That's how I manage now, Greg. I used to write things down. Now I put it in my smartphone. On that day, that's the day I'm going to call the professional association. But make it easy for yourself, right? So I could look at that and my day could get crazy. And if I've made it hard for myself on my smartphone, where, oh, I didn't, just even looking up the number, finding out what is the professional association in my field to contact, make it easy on yourself. Write the number down or the URL, put it in your calendar and say, okay, I'm going to at least contact them and find out about their student rate, or what activities could I get involved in without being a member? What are their benefits? There's lots of positive things that can come out of that activity, but only break up a goal that you have, because that's a pretty big goal to think about. I want to be career self-reliant. I want to be career stable. Okay, that's too much to take on, but just whatever it is, a 5-minute activity, put the number down, the URL, put it in your calendar. You'll have a greater likelihood of following through and taking control.
Yeah, intentionality is absolutely the key to success, and having small goals each week. And I do them on sticky notes. That's my goals are sticky notes. At least 1 or 2 goals a day will make you feel in control, because you are. It's either you or somebody else. So make it you.
Yeah, the only thing I was going to add on to that was just the idea that when I read that first part of that question, most of my career has been out of my control. So I go back to like what I've heard so far today, and it's like you have to do some self-reflection. What is it that you want out of your career? If you identify those specific things and then take the actions that both Carla and Alice are talking about in small bites, I think it can move you forward. So many times we're just passive and we're letting others direct. So you just have to switch that around. So.
Yes, so true. And I would definitely add to that, and to Carla's point of intentionality, setting the tone of your day or commanding your day. You can build a system or a series of routines to kind of set in motion how you want your day to go. And whether you're in a controlling space to where you seem like it's out of control, at least at the start of your day, you can set the tone to move it forward how you would desire. So that intentionality does play a very huge part in that. Thank you so much, Michael, for your question. All right, our next question is from Jennifer. Any advice to give me as I'm entering an industry that I am new to? That one, that's open too.
Mhm.
I could probably jump in and then, I think the first thing is, so I'm assuming that you might have a job. The way I'm reading that is that you are entering into something new. And I think for me, because I've been in that place, I'm actually there's 3 career changes from teacher to sales, outside sales rep to what I'm doing now. So I've had to do this. And so what I would always share is the first and foremost is go in with an open mind. Obviously, you've learned a lot in your previous work experiences. Perhaps you've backed that up with your education, but you are going into something new. So you have to be respectful of the people that work in that space. And, whether people liked it or not, I asked a lot of questions. And I think that's a good way to go in is be inquisitive and be open-minded about what you're trying to do. And obviously there's other tactical things you can do, but I think that's kind of the mental approach that has been beneficial for me.
Mhm. Another thing I would suggest is to follow the thought leaders of that particular industry, maybe following them on LinkedIn, growing, learning, uh, doing your own research about the industry, and forming goals to become over time proficient and then an expert yourself.
And I'd just like to jump in to say that the professional association is available for you that represents every industry out there. I even had a client that wanted to get into race car driving. And I said, let's see if there's an association for that. Sure enough, there was. And he could do an informational interview learning about problems that were apparent in that industry and getting into it. And then we spoke earlier about a mentor. I think when we make a dramatic career change and we change industries, that can be a humbling experience and we can feel vulnerable. Like Greg said, asking a lot of questions, but am I bothering those people? Do I look inept in some way because I come from hospitality? I don't have any experience in healthcare. And, there's a lot of vulnerability there. And what you want to do, be humble, but also get up to speed as fast as possible. And the best way to do that is by connecting with the professional association. As Carla said, you'll have thought leaders, speakers that come to the industry mixers that many times are virtual, and you can learn so much from them in what's going on. Bring those ideas of shared problems and solutions back into your employer, and they should be impressed with your initiative.
I agree. It's time to explore just new ways of going about gathering information, getting to know new things that are before you. So awesome. Thank you so much for your suggestions. And thank you so much, Jennifer. Our next question is from Jessica. If you interview for a job and you didn't get the job offer, is it okay to ask why the position was not offered? It's a really good question.
Well, my 2 cents on that is it's an imperative that you should ask. It does not mean that you'll get the response you're looking for or something constructive, but I do think that there's value in asking that question. Obviously, it depends on the individual that you're trying to connect with, whether it's the recruiter or somebody else within the hiring management team. But I do think it's all about how you position that question. So the way I would look at it is, you're looking for constructive feedback so that you might be able to do better next time. Or was there something that about my background that was not a fit for this particular job? Because that gives you some peace of mind, and it also helps you learn and grow. So that would be my approach.
Yeah, I think right now, 100%, that the number one thing that hiring managers are wanting to do is actually retain their top talent. And so what might be happening is what you cannot see. And that is that there's probably highly likely 2, maybe even 3 internal candidates. And so if you don't get a role, one of the reasons might be due to the pandemic, it slowed down a lot of people getting promoted, rising up. And so I think that we have a huge challenge right now if we want to move outside, because it's highly likely that what's going on is the talent, of which no one wants to lose right now, is being promoted. And so I would just encourage you that go into an interview recognizing this reality, and then be compelling enough that that hiring manager would take a risk on you, while maybe also upsetting the internal talent. So there's a lot at play right now.
Most definitely, most definitely. At least I've seen that happen as we are trying to figure out how to adapt to this new environment. We want to see that people are being productive in their roles and being consistent. And so, yeah, but definitely do ask the question and be open to the feedback that you receive as well. Awesome. Thank you so much, Jessica, for your question. Our next question is from SV. Do you have any tips for creating career stability in a completely virtual workplace? Yes, all of us are experiencing this for the most part.
Well, I guess I can jump in on this. We at the University of Phoenix, as career advisors, we're all completely virtual. And so what I've personally learned is it is important, as Greg said, to volunteer, to get involved outside of your immediate group, to think about problems that are existing or opportunities to make things better, and to connect with other groups. So, as you might think, we actually used to report to the marketing division, and now we're in student services. But that was a fantastic opportunity for us to meet and work alongside more people. So, remember when we talked about career stability and the importance of other people being able to vouch for you if your job goes out, well, you're in a virtual workplace, let's say no longer after the pandemic. Now it's hybrid. And by the way, your job's going overseas. You want to have other, you're looking at cultivating that career stability. You want to have other work groups be able to get to know you, work alongside you. So it could just be even a blood drive, or any kind of problem that you can see a solution to, get outside your group and connect with other divisions.
Definitely great points, Alice. I would add to that, if your company has employee resource groups or business resource groups, that's a great way to get involved and engaged, because it also builds your performance outline and could also reinforce your being an inclusive leader in your organization, which keeps that career stability for yourself, and also reassures your employer that you are connected and that you are engaged. So that's a great way to build that, especially in a virtual workplace, because there's ways to get involved, connected, and volunteer, and those aspects as programming is still going on within the university. Thank you so much, SV, and our panelists for responding to that question. Selena is asking, can you share more about obtaining professional recommendations or LinkedIn recommendations so they are always there?
Well, I can speak to the professional recommendations part of that. I think, as your career progresses, it's really important to maintain a list of those people that have been very instrumental in your development. So those could be supervisors, those could be leaders that you've worked for, but those could also be colleagues. So I would always try to keep a list of those people, and I can think of the people off the top of my head that are the people that are kind of my go-to for professional recommendations in this particular field of higher education that I work in. And it's really important to stay in contact with those people, to let them know, because you change jobs, you move cities, whatever it is, but stay connected with those people that you would like to be your professional recommendations, and keep them up to date with your goings on, where your career is, what you're looking at, especially if you're up for a particular position. So I think that's the way that I would look, to try to make a personal connection with somebody that you want to make a recommendation. One rule of thumb for me has always been, if you can't provide a recommendation for them, then they may not be able to provide a recommendation for you because you don't know them well enough. So it should go both ways on that. And so that's just a thought on the professional recommendation side.
Mhm.
And that's one of those great habits to just be continually on your mind is who are my people that can vouch for me, and then asking them on LinkedIn, could they endorse you? Would they feel comfortable endorsing you? And like Greg said, if you offer to do that first, then they will also tend to want to reciprocate if you feel, nervous about asking them. Um, you could make a recommendation on their LinkedIn and then wait a little while, maybe a month or two, and then ask if they would feel comfortable recommending you on a couple skill areas that would be meaningful to you. And that is something, we talk about career self-reliance, career stability, managing our careers as though it were our own small businesses. Those are like our business testimonials. Those LinkedIn endorsements are critical because recruiters do go there. Sometimes before they even look at your resume, they see your LinkedIn link, they click on that, and they look at your recommendations. So I'm so glad someone asked that question.
Yes, for sure. Great point, Alice. I appreciate that because that makes me think about my own profile and always being in contact with people. I'm going to work towards building a system of always reaching out and asking people questions, because I think that's a good way to stay connected with people, ask questions about what they do, and just building relationships, which will help with the consistency of, as Greg was saying, if you can write one for them, then they'll might likely be able to write one for you. Awesome. Thank you so much. And Ryan has a question. Do you recommend having a formalized contingency plan, or is it something you should always be working on? Awesome question. Alice?
I know, since I'm the contingency plan woman. Yeah, again, it's like managing your own small business, right? You've got to have those backups for Murphy's Law. Otherwise, you go out of business. And the same thing in your career. You've got to have that contingency plan. So if you don't have one, and I don't know how formal it needs to be, but Tom Peters, who wrote In Search of Excellence, one of the top New York Times bestselling business books, had said that it's really important for all professionals to take stock of themselves every 6 months. Think about what it is that you do well. What do you want to develop more? What else could you do? We all have transferable skills. So I'm a career counselor, but I'm also a published author, and I'm also a former professor, and I'm also a former keynote speaker, and I'm also a former consultant, and I've managed my own consulting company, and I do outside sales. So those are just I'm rattling off some things, but that could relate to multiple industries, nonprofits, for-profits, higher ed. So we all have these abilities to make some pretty dramatic career changes. So it's important in the contingency plan to sit down with a career counselor, career advisor, do some assessments, think about what you'd like to leave here on this planet. What do you want to do before your life's up? And then think about how you could achieve that. That's a really healthy thing to do.
Agreed. To me, it sounds like legacy. That contingency plan can help you to leave a legacy beyond your children, because a lot of people will think that legacy is within your children, but you can leave something for the world to make an impact and influence even beyond you being here. So,
Well,
great.
I like where this discussion is going because, you know, sometimes we can't get everything that we want in this one little box of a job, right? So actually, if we have side work or volunteer work that we do on the side that represents that growing gig economy, right? Sometimes that can be our contingency plan. So we get laid off, but we had an e-commerce business. We were selling something on Etsy that we love to do. Maybe that ends up turning into our next full-time job.
Agreed. I'm with you. Thank you so much, Ryan, for your question. We really do appreciate it. And we have a question from Jonna. How do I make an appointment with a career advisor at the University of Phoenix?
Go straight into the student portal. You'll see career resources, drop down menu, career advisors. Read a little bit about our bios, seeing which one of us might be a great fit for you, and make the appointment. That is it.
Boom.
Bam, mic is completely dropped. Thank you so much to our panelists and to those who presented questions to us. We really appreciate your feedback. And we hope and we thank you for tuning in with us. Any questions that we didn't get to, we'll do our best to address those offline. And again, you can learn more about the University of Phoenix Career Services for Life Commitment at phoenix.edu/careers. Also, if you are a student or an alumnus aspiring to grow your network and build your leadership skills in community, be sure to check out our recognized student organization offerings under the Student Experience tab on phoenix.edu. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank
Have a great
you.
day.
Thank you.
Thank
Have a
you.
great day.